receiving feedback rests in self-awareness. And self-awareness
Mm.
has two components. One is, I call it the mirror and the portrait, right? So the mirror is like typical traditional self-awareness. Like, I know what my goals are, my aspirations. I know what I like. I know where I fit in. I know what my desires and my values are, right? That's self-awareness from the mirror perspective. But the portrait, and this is the part of self-awareness that people don't understand or recognize as self-awareness, is how other people see you, your impact on other people. That is self-awareness. And that portrait that they paint of you may not like it. Mm-hmm. And you may not agree with it, but it has been painted. Mm-hmm. It is on the canvas. And so understanding why someone painted that of you is self-awareness.
Hello, Only Founders fans. Welcome to this episode. I have an exciting guest for you today. I'm your host, Ann Gillespie, and joining me is Elissa Zylbershlag. We had to practice that one a couple of times before we hit record.
We sure did, and
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I did it.
You did it. It rolled off your tongue. It was like
Elissa
natural.
Zylbershlag. We did it.
That's
okay,
right.
Cool. I can't wait to introduce you guys to Elissa. She is really fun to talk to, which is why we're here. We wanted to hit record on all of the juicy details of our conversation of getting to know her. So I want to ask Elissa, what company are you working on right now?
My company is called WorkWise Labs, and we are a company that helps new leaders feel more confident at work.
Ooh, okay. So I love that. So feel more confident doing what?
Leading and managing and supervising, and, leadership and management is different. So, we work on that.
Love that. Okay.
And we do it through, so I'll tell you just one more thing. We do it through leadership development, team building, and one-on-one professional coaching.
Love it. So is it, would you say, more of a consulting company or a coaching company?
Yes.
Perfect. That's a great answer. Love that. And is WorkWise Labs the only place you are trying to grow and work on right now at this moment in time?
Yes, it is my baby that I am nurturing.
Love that. Okay, how long have you had this baby?
I gave birth in 2023. And I did it while I was working full time. So, yeah, that was a lot
of our listeners would resonate with that, where they are working full time and they are growing and building something in the wee hours of the evening and the weekends where you find the energy to do it. I want to talk about that because that's interesting. So how did you do that in 2023? Because that's really hard.
Well, 2023, the reason it started was people started asking me to do things, and we were actually sitting at my son's, I have two kids, and my son was at camp and we were at his visiting day and we were sitting all around in a circle, and my father's an attorney. And I said, this local university just hired me to do a program. And I had already done a couple and people were starting to hear about me. And he said, you really need an LLC. And I was like, oh, okay. And I listened to my dad. And so I was like, all right, can you do it for me? So he did it for me, which
love dad. Thanks,
love
dad.
Thank you,
That's
Dad.
Great.
Which is actually kind of a miracle, because I still don't even have a will. And I've been asking him to help me with a will for 20 years now.
How old are your kids now?
19 and 17.
So have you been struggling to do the will since they were born?
Yes. And I said to my dad, please, can you do the will? I actually think a few years ago, we ended up doing it on LegalZoom or something like that. Thanks, Dad.
So,
but this was a good dad moment. This was a good dad moment.
That's a good dad moment. So I have a will and a trust, and we have not revisited that since having children, because in the will and the trust, it says, should there be children to Trent and Ann? And I'm like, oh, we have 3 and they're 7, almost 9 and 11. And that's how many years we've gone without revisiting that thing. So I feel you on that. Usually when kids are in the picture, you're like, oh, I need a will and a trust. Let's go ahead and update that. And then it's like, nah, we can't get to this project because it's shitty. And you even have a dad who does it. We had to hire an attorney, and it's hard. Okay, so legal documents, we don't want to talk about that. But
no, that's
thank
boring.
you, Dad. We got the LLC. Okay, so the advice and the kind of work, the intelligence was already there. You were already being sought after for this work. And then someone said, you need your LLC. So now you have your LLC. And what did
Yes.
growing this specific business in 2023 look like for you? Like, break it down tangibly, because there's a lot of people here that are like, what does that mean to start a consulting, coaching, all of it business and then
Well, it
grow
wasn't coaching. It wasn't coaching then. So I am an educator. And I have always been an educator. I've always been in education, adult education. And so I was, at the time, I was working for the New Jersey State, no, the where was I in 2023? I know. Okay. I don't really know where I was. I'd have to look at
Yeah.
my LinkedIn.
Somewhere
But
in
at
New
the
Jersey, would that be fair?
Yes, I was working either at the New Jersey State Bar Foundation or the New Jersey State Division on Civil Rights. So I was either at one of those two places in 20. Oh, no, I was at the Division on Civil Rights because I think I started there in 2020. And people started asking me to do things. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And um, and and the way that it happened in the beginning was people came to me. And so that first year, I think maybe I did 2 programs, 3 programs all year. And I was working full time. But it was really
the program
exciting.
then? What did the program that you refer to entail?
It was a training, a workshop. I'm a facilitator. So I facilitate conversation. That I'm an educator and facilitator. So I create and I write trainings for a living. And I've been doing that for over 20 years. So I have a ton of content that I have written that's intellectual property that is mine. And that I've developed over the years and that I've done in different arenas. I've worked for many different nonprofits over the years. And so I actually have my little chart, how many did I do in 2023? I did 3 in 2023.
Love that. Okay, cool. This is great. Okay, so we did 3 facilitations in 2023. How did that workload? What?
Well, I want to tell you. Okay, go ahead. I was going to tell you the progression of how it worked.
I do. I want to talk about the progression, but I want to ask because for me, this is something personal. When I was just starting my business, I was a numbers gal back then, and I thought I had to have so many brand sessions and so many consulting hours with clients. And the workload to even get one was tough, right? Your first year of business, that's heavy. Yeah. So we have 3. So what did that feel like to you energetically doing those 3 while you were still working full time? Do you remember?
Yes, I do, because I already had the trainings. So it wasn't new content. What was new to me, and one of them, I'm not going to tell you who it was because they asked me to never, they said, please don't share. So some places say you can talk about it. Some places say you can't. One of them was a friend of mine and she ran a place and she asked me to come in. One of them was this university and one was it was a different state government place. And I had done all of those, but the state government place I pitched. And I will tell you, I was terrified. Ooh, I worked with them at my Division on Civil Rights job. DCR is the acronym that I will henceforth use. So I worked with them at DCR and they come through and I was like, I think I can sell them on this. And my brother, I actually come from a family of entrepreneurs. So everyone in my family, I have a brother and a sister and a mother and a father. And all 4 of them own their own business.
Wow.
So I was the only one. Who my brother said had a real job. But I actually disagree with that. So my brother has since become he was my mentor then. He's like my mentor, but I wouldn't have called him that then, but he was the one who pushed me. And I was like, I think I could get them to buy this training. And he was like, do it. And I was like, what do I say? I don't even know how to have that conversation.
My gosh.
And I remember lying in my bed.
You're like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to someone?
Right? Because all of the programs that I had sold up until then were free because I worked for nonprofits and government. And so everything was free. So here I am charging money. I didn't know how much to charge. I didn't know how to have that money conversation. I didn't know what to do. And I remember I was lying on my bed and I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Okay, wait, what do I say? What do I say? And I'm like taking notes on the notes app of my phone. And he's like, this is what I say. Now, my brother owns a mold remediation and asbestos abatement company. That is not what I do.
Totally different. Totally different lane. Yeah.
Different lane, yet business. And my brother says, and he's right, business, we are all in the same business, and that is the business of making money.
Amen.
Now, we are lucky if we care about what we do. We are lucky if we're passionate about what we do, but we're all in the same business of making money. So he talked me through what he says. I was like, okay. I asked to have a meeting with them. They said yes. And I was sweating. I mean, my palms, I remember I was sitting there. I was so
The Eminem
nervous.
song, palms are sweaty, mom's
Yeah.
spaghetti, like all of it's coming to me with your first pitch, and you're like, oh, my armpits, my hands. Yeah, we feel
Sweating
you.
right now thinking about it.
We're
Like,
sitting in the sweat.
yeah, I was sitting in the
Okay.
sweat. I did it and she said yes.
Okay, how long did that pitch take you to deliver to her before she said yes?
Like, how long was I talking?
Yeah,
It felt like 10 hours. No, I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know. It felt
couple
long,
minutes.
but it was probably a couple minutes. I mean,
I love that.
of ums and
Yes. Okay,
like,
so we're progressing. So we have the nervous first, right? And we have this pitch and we're like, holy shit, we're doing this thing. And then you're progressing forward. And that was 3 facilitations in the first year. What does 2024 look like?
okay, I'm going in.
Because I know you have your tracker up. I want to know. I love data. I love that you tracked this.
7.
7. So you doubled +1. So you then get 7. Well, are you still working full-time in 2024 too?
Full
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So then I get 7. And one of them was another university. And when I was at that, and I did a team building for that university
Mm-hmm.
and on giving and receiving feedback.
Yes.
And at the end, she really liked me. And at the end, I went over to her and she was like, this was amazing. Thank you so much, Elissa, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I also work with leaders. I mean, I don't even know where it came from. Like,
it came from your gut and your intuition because you knew what you offered.
I
before
knew what
you
I
even
wanted.
sold it. Yes.
And at DCR, I had started a mentorship program. I was on the executive team. Everyone was coming to me for things. And I was like, this is good. I'm good at this. I was mentoring people and I had created a mentoring program for other people to mentor other people. And I had a great thing going there. And I just said it. And I don't even know. It was like, it just came out of me. And she was like, oh, that's interesting. Can we talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, sure. So we talked about it.
Question, when she said, oh, that's interesting, and you hadn't yet built the damn thing, but because you had interest, were you then talking as if you already had this thing built with her, but then it was giving you ideas of what to actually build?
It's a great question. And it is a question of style. At my last job, I worked with Scott, who is like my work husband. I love him so much. My style is say you'll do it, then build it.
Yes.
His style is build it and then say you'll do it.
And both are fair.
Both are fair. We used to do this. Now, the benefit was I was the director. So he had to do it my way.
Love that.
Anyway, we built, I was hired there at DCR to build an education and training unit. They had none. And within 4 years, we won the Attorney General's Award. We had other states coming to us, asking us how we built this. We had probably 15 trainings running, we were booked a year out.
Wow.
I built this amazing program with a team. It wasn't just me, but it was my vision and my leadership. And that's how I do it is I say I'll do it and then I have a deadline.
Yeah. Well, what I love about how you do it, and now tell me if this isn't how you do it, but this is why I love to do it that way in my way, is when I say I have something and then I go build it, there's room for feedback, there's room for flexibility, and there's room for pivoting. So when I say, oh yeah, I have that, and then you go to build it and you do check-ins or you do feedback loops, or as you're building it, you check in and say, is this really valuable? You can also check in with the person who you're building it for and make it feel a little bit more custom, because you're building it alongside their need for it. So you can gather feedback. Hey, we have this new feature, or I'm working on this part of the program that I think would really be awesome. Does this fit with you? For me, it allows some room for flexibility. Whereas if I spend 5 hours building a program to then go sell it, but then it's not selling, or the people say, well, I wish it had X, or we really need this, then yes, I'm spending time on the back end, but I wish I would have had that information when I was building it, because I'm already spending time in it. So for me, when my energy moves on, it's really hard for me to get back into the energy of the thing that I'm building to go
I
back in and
understand.
finesse it, right? But everybody has different energy when they work. And so that's you and Scott have very different energy on how
Yeah.
you work. Whereas my preference is, well, shit, when I'm done, when I just built that thing and I'm done, I want to be out of it. I want to just go sell it. I don't want to go back in and continue finessing it because that just
Oh
feels
God, that
like
is not me. Oh, say
I
we're
failed.
very different. Our process, you and this is the way the world works. Our processes are different. I
Yeah.
do not do it that way. I do an intake and I ask all my questions up front. So very often people come to me. I mean, this is how I've always done it in the nonprofit world. You know, like the selling I've always done. So I get all that information up front. The truth is, I'm an educator and I understand pedagogy. So when people tell me the way it should be, they don't know what they're talking about. Like
Yeah.
99% of the time, they're like, I really want this. And I'm like, that doesn't work. And
Yeah.
here's why that doesn't work. Also, people come to me and they say, I would like a training on having difficult conversations. Well, great. There are like, what kind? Talking about change, giving feedback. There's a conflict there. So people come to me and they don't even really know what they want. They don't know the language for it. So part of the intake is me pulling that language out, parsing it out, finding out what happened.
Yeah.
Because when I find out what happened, I'm like, you don't need a conversation on difficult conversations. You need a conversation on this. And thankfully, I have that for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so like, yeah, like on effective communication or something, you know? So like that's foundational. Clearly people are not communicating. And I have a really great training on that. Let me give it to you and I'll do it with your team. So, you know, so I had that with her and I did not have anything. I went home, I said to my brother, oh shit. And he's like, that's okay, Elissa, you got this. He is like my biggest champion.
I
He's
love this
amazing.
so much. So your family has been pretty supportive and incremental in like
Yes.
not incremental, foundational,
Yes.
influential. This is the word I'm looking for. It is the afternoon here. That's where we are today. I love how much your family is in on all of this because
I
it's
know, yeah.
rare. You don't hear that much. I love this. So your brother says not a big deal. We'll
Elissa,
do
you
it.
got this. You know. And I was like, yeah, I do know what to do. I know the content, but it was like the selling of it that I
Yeah.
struggled with. So I wasn't
Yeah.
scared of the content. I have that. I know that. That's here. I've been doing it for 20, 25 years. So we had our meetings and it was big. It was a big contract and it was a 6-month contract and she fucking signed.
Holy shit. And all because you said like one word. You know, I do this. Like you just
I
threw it
work with
out there.
leaders.
And because intuitively that's what you knew you did. And I really want to use this as an example, okay? We're going to do a full stop here. When you work as an entrepreneur for yourself, your energy comes from your gut, your intuition, your knowing. You know what you deliver and who you deliver it for, regardless of it being a part of your business model or a part of your marketing package and what you currently sell. If you find yourself in a meeting saying, oh yeah, I do this or I work with them, and it just flows from you, that is such a gift. And I want to pause and appreciate that gift because as a founder, that doesn't always happen, but that is your intuition coming to light in natural form. And I think we need to listen, right? Because I've had some of those instances as well, where I'll be on some call and just randomly I say, oh yeah, and it also includes this. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Where did that come from? But I knew in my brain somewhere I knew that would be helpful to them.
Yeah.
And then I sold it. And it was an upsell. And I'm like, holy shit, I don't even have that, but I will because intuitively I knew that's what I wanted to help them out and provide. And I just wasn't doing it. Right? So it's almost like improv. I think improv is so important for people in business because it's the yes and philosophy. So you're building on these conversations with yes and. I also do. I can, let's do this too.
Another thing I want to share with you about that negotiation.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to price it. And pricing is a whole conversation in and of itself. I mean, that's another podcast, Dan. We can talk about pricing. But
well, that's another facilitation session with you, perhaps, is pricing.
Yes. That is called a consultation. And yes. And okay, so I didn't know what to charge. So I was going back and forth. I didn't want to be too high because I didn't want her to say no, but I didn't want to be too low because I didn't want to undervalue myself. So where is that sweet spot? And I didn't know. So I put out a number that I thought was okay. I like Googled shit and like
Okay,
researched
so
and
you Googled. Got it.
Googled. Talked to people that I knew, but it was like nobody had any concrete. Now I know I charge way too little. Now I know what my pricing model is and I feel confident and comfortable with it. But now I did charge too little, but that's what got me in. So I actually am really happy that I charged too little, but it was a big number for me, especially at that time.
Sure.
And she negotiated. She negotiated it down. And one of the most helpful things my brother said to me is when somebody negotiates down, you have to remove something with that. They don't get something with that. That means you don't just give a discount. You give a discount and you remove a service or you lessen a
Mm,
service because
mm.
that value is the value.
I
So
love
I
that.
did. So I did. I did these like round tables and I think I had 12 and she wanted it less money. So I said, okay, I'll do 9 or something like that. I can do 9 and I can do this many coaching sessions instead of 6, I'll do 5 and that'll lower the price. So I lowered the offering to
Hmm.
also lower the price. And that was a very valuable piece of information for me. And
Yes.
it sounds obvious, but it is not something that I thought of.
No. Well, and as a new founder, that was something that took me years to understand as well. Because in the beginning, I did just want the work to feel valued, to also put the rep in of my service so that I could do the thing to then improve the thing. And
Mhm.
I would also discount without removing something. And it does feel obvious now, but I think when you're in the beginning, it wouldn't. And so because you have uncertainty around your price in the first place, you go,
Right.
well, I don't really know. And then they come back and say, could it be 2,000 less or whatever? You go, oh, maybe it should be 2,000 less because this is market research, right? And so
Yeah.
there's, I think, the difference of being a new founder and quoting your work for the first time and figuring out your pricing. And don't use an actual pitch call, a sales call with someone who you want to close as market research. Use their feedback as this is my value. This is what I'm going to sell to you today. And if you can't afford that or if they negotiate, then the actual service that I offer needs to change, right? But you're not going to use that call as market research to say, oh, well, they're negotiating me down, so then I should actually be less. That's not how that works. But it's really hard in the beginning to know that. And I'm glad
Right.
that your brother told you because it took me years and years of discounting my work to where one of my goals years ago was, this sounds really stupid again now, but back then it was like, I just want to sell a project at my full rate and not discount it to win the work. And people were like, wait, what? Like, why is that a goal of yours? You should be selling it always at full rate, which full rate is your brother's mantra. If it's the value and that's full rate, well, then it's still full rate. Even if you're negotiating down, they're just getting less of you, which is still your full rate. So it still holds value. So I think that's a really important lesson. It took me a long time to learn that. And when you do, I mean, I actually bid a big contract last year for a big city here in Colorado for a branding consulting job. And it was similar. I've never bid this kind of work before. I was actually working it with a city and we're branding a location and a street and like a destination. And I've never branded something like that. So they weren't quite my normal small or medium sized business that I'm branding. And so for me, I went back to that kind of early day 12 years ago, startup mindset and started devaluing myself. And when I said, I don't really know what to price this contract. This is so different for me of work. Well, went to Google, went to AI, went to all of the
Right,
things,
right,
talked
right.
to people, but then least I stuck to my learned lesson of exactly what we're talking about. I am
Right.
not new to this work. I'm new to the container in which I'm bidding this work, and they're still going to get a brand executive of 15 years doing this work. So when they negotiated, which they did, I then did what you did. And I was so proud of myself because that wasn't always the case. But I said, well, instead of doing this many hours in focus groups or this many hours of events or this much in the surveying, right, the setup, we're going to take it back a notch. I could still do a really good job for you delivering this amount of time, which would get you closer to your budget. And I think that's really important because this conversation does not always happen publicly. You know, pricing, people don't talk
No.
about pricing. They don't talk about how to figure shit out when you're just on your own and you don't have, an entire business model of experience behind you. I think pricing is actually probably, would you say, one of the biggest challenges in starting your own business?
I mean, pricing and talking about money, like just the money conversation in general, for me was the hardest part.
It's ick. Yep. And I have financial trauma from my childhood. So like going back and doing some inner child work with finances and how I was raised, there's so much that lives in our nervous system as human beings with energy around money that in business, it can always just feel ick everywhere. And the more people you feel secure confiding in and talking to about money, I think this conversation needs to be more of an open book than it is personally.
Yeah. And there was a moment where I really came to terms because I actually care about the people. I care about what I do. I help people. I mean, that's what I love. And that's my business, is helping people. But I was really torn between helping people versus the business. We're all in business to make money, right?
Man,
So,
Elissa, you and I are the same, right?
so I have this little sign here I'm going to share with you
Okay.
that is a
Yes.
sticky note on my computer that I came to this realization that feels so obvious, but it was such an aha moment. It says, I care and I want the business. Both can be true.
Okay. So I have a mantra and it's an alarm on my phone every
Okay.
day at 8:50 a.m. because that's usually when I'm dinking around or commuting or I'm free before I go into my powerhouse mode. And it literally says, I can care and I can also make millions. And
I
I think
care
it's
and I want the business. Both are
yes.
true.
And I've had to do a lot of financial reconstruction as a human being and a woman, and especially a woman business owner who does want to help everyone. And my work is my mission and my purpose. I tell everyone if I could work for free, I would. If I didn't have to manage books and money and accounting and a family of 5 with finances, I wouldn't. I would just literally go do my craft for the world. And I love my work. It is a mission work, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a point where you're running a business for 12 years and you go, oh shit, I actually haven't been the best CFO, financial, CEO of my businesses. And this was a big realization in the last couple of years for me that I did some coaching for, just to overcome this very issue, because I was giving away all of my time. There were brand projects. I had, 6 of my contractors, my creative team working on it with me, and I paid myself last. And I did all of the project management, all of the client management through the whole brand project, and I would not pay myself for that time. And I had so many people say, Anne, you are delivering the brand experience with all of your creatives, and you're not billing for that time. If you weren't doing that job and you hired someone, what would that be worth? And that was the aha of, holy shit, I care so much. And also, I can bill and make millions, and I can grow this, business model. And millions is just my vision, of course. But
no, that's okay. I'm taking over the world. I don't know if you know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm building my global empire.
I'm building an empire.
We're Pinky in the braining right now, and we're like, I will take over the world. And we're building our global empires as we should. And those are going to require millions of dollars and a lot of really smart people.
And a private jet, of course.
Duh, of course. And some condos, right? I literally have on my dream list, I want a condo in Asia, I want a condo in Europe, and I want to have my mountain house here in Colorado because I want to have space to invite community with me around the world as I grow my global empire, right? Because community is so important. I want to host people. I want to host networking events. And I also want to travel and speak all over the world. So I'm going to need to have pop-off spots like my own condo so that I can create a safe, comforting midpoint, either direction that I go around the world, Europe or Asia, you pick. And then I can, be in my genius because I've had 2 days in my space as a layover before I get to your event to go activate your audience. Right? Of course, there needs to be properties.
Yes. And you can borrow my private jet whenever you want.
Thank you, Elissa. So, and you know what? We'll just do some more podcasts from that private jet. You know what? You should have jet facilitation sessions where they get to ride in your jet. And that is the facilitation training.
Yeah, I'm in it.
I mean,
so
yeah. Why not? I've thought about having a private jet and having private dance parties up in the air because we dance, right? So let's go have like a jet dance party as we jet off somewhere and let's reinvigorate our souls.
But there's one thing that you said, Anne, there's one thing that you said that I want to comment on because I also think everything you said is true. And I would add, in the beginning, charge low. It doesn't even matter. It's all experience. Every single thing that you do, every time you charge too low, you're learning. Every time you charge too high and you lose the deal, you're learning. And it's all learning. So you can do it for free. I mean, Do you know how many lost leaders I've done? I have done and that is a term I did not know before David, my brother. Thank you, David. This is a David. Is
Okay.
he said, do a loss leader. You can you if so I found when I worked for like associations or if I spoke at a conference, doing that for free was great because I had this huge audience of people from all different places. Sure, I'll do that for free because something's going to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And more than something. Like I did a conference last year. I literally just got off the phone with the woman who I met who was in my audience last year, and I've already done a workshop with her. I've already done multiple things. She's hiring me again for the fall. She wants to do this, she wants to do that. So much came from that one loss leader that I did
Mm-hmm.
with just
Mm-hmm.
one
So
client.
let's talk about speaking because you are a speaker. Are you intentionally growing your speaking business or is that just a side
So
hustle?
this is a hole in my knowledge. I am a facilitator. I can go in any room and I can facilitate any conversation. It's a strength, it's a superpower I have, and I love it. You don't need a lot of knowledge about the thing to facilitate. You just need to know how to work a room, how to facilitate, how to pull out of people, how to make the magic happen, which that is my superpower.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked to do a keynote this past year from a woman who I met at my last job, who I facilitated for, and she was like, "Oh, will you come and do a keynote for this group?" It was 250 people in Atlantic City, and I was like, oh, I said yes because that's what you do. Yeah, everything. Yes, of course, I can do
Of
that.
course.
Yes. So I went and I bombed. I bombed. I mean, I had done a program 2 years prior when I worked at DCR for this conference, and I was the hit of the conference, right? Like because I was facilitating them. And I facilitated, I had 80 people in my room. And when I got to this conference again and I had a table and I was the keynote. And
Mm-hmm.
a guy came up to me. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you were here 2 years ago. I remember and you said this. You changed the way that I think about this." And I know. I was like,
Whoa.
wow. Because that's what a lot of what I do is like, I go in, I do my thing, and I leave, and you don't know the impact. But I mean, I really impacted this guy. And it was a workshop on implicit bias. And he was like, I move in the world differently now because of that. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, and the woman who hired me was standing right next to me. That was good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Okay.
so then I go up on
You just
stage.
gave me an idea. I want to document this here because you just gave me an idea
Okay, what
because I'm
is
not
it?
going to take this note. It's you just said something which as growing a speaker business myself, we don't get feedback after we activate an audience, right? We don't get the feedback loop. And so that made me think, you know how we can always put like a QR code or a contact slide up on the screen and
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to contact or connect with the keynote. Oftentimes you get a slide, right? And I was thinking on my QR code, there's different ways in which you can connect with me, my community, some of my courses, some documents. These are all things that I'm building, right? It's the follow-up. But you just said something from a market research standpoint that I love from my past career in marketing, 15 years ago, that the feedback loop, if you're going to go in and activate an audience and speak, what if that QR code was a form or a survey where you could actually ask them, what was one thing that shifted from when you entered the room this morning to after Anne spoke or after Elissa spoke or facilitated? What was one shift? And you could even have, a drop down of specific topics that you hit or just like a short paragraph form, but you could literally prompt 1 to 2 different little survey questions, super easy. And then the next step is to click to join something in your sales page, right? Your sales funnel for them to join your community or for them to set up time with you or for them to buy your course, right? But it could be the first question. And I haven't seen a lot of speakers do that myself, where you click to go contact them or where they want you to go, where they actually have feedback. Now I've seen the
So I do
conferences.
that in every single workshop. Like I just did a workshop this morning and
Okay.
I put at the end, I have a QR code that I put up and then it goes to a survey. because that feedback
Yes.
is invaluable to me.
Yes.
I was just reading it, right? It's actually sitting up here on my screen.
Yeah. And
And
so many people don't.
everybody liked it and one person didn't. And so that is the feedback that I want to read.
That's it. Yes, because we don't go to the 5 out of 5 reviews. We go to the 1-star reviews. When we're looking at reviews on something, we go to the lowest because we
I
want to
want to
see.
understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you bombed this speaking event. Tell me, what do you think the difference is between being a speaker and a facilitator? Because you started by saying, I'm a facilitator, I'm not a speaker. What is the difference?
Facilitation is about getting people to realize I have a point that I want to make. And I ask questions or have created an exercise to get people to come to that conclusion on their own. And through and very often they come up with conclusions I never even thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like an exploration. Facilitation is an exploration. I get to learn just as much as the group. Today somebody I asked a question, somebody gave an answer and I was like in my head. I was like that's an interesting answer. And so I said, "What do you tell me more? What did you mean by that?" And then they went on. It was brilliant. And it was not a
Oh.
perspective and at first I was like, huh, what are they talking
Mm-hmm.
about? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then and I said, tell me more. I don't know what you mean. And and the whole room was like, yes, yes. Like, and this person brought everyone in the room in on that. And that's good facilitation
Love
where
that. Love that. Okay.
speaking
Mm-hmm.
Speaking is, the best way to say it? Facilitation is guide on the side. Speaking is sage on the stage.
Look at you. Did you just come up with that?
No. I
Oh,
have a workshop on facilitation and how to facilitate. And that is how
yeah.
I differentiate in the workshop. So
Yes.
I could go through that more, but that's how I talk about it in the workshop.
Okay. So, what do you think was a reason, one of them at least, that you bombed the keynote speech?
I don't think I was prepared enough. I don't think that I was confident enough, although I have a confidence model that I share. And confidence is about insecurity. You cannot even work on confidence if you don't first have insecurity. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about insecurity. It's about learning the skill. It's about practicing the skill. It's about having trouble with the skill. It's about
Uh,
figuring it out. And then it's about having a small win. And then you feel confident. And
yes.
your confidence gains. I talk about confidence like a fundraising thermometer.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Yeah.
little by little at a time. That is how confidence raises. You don't just all of a sudden you're super confident, right?
Yeah.
It's through all of this insecurity and all of these little things you learn and practice and bomb and, and grow. And then you
Yeah.
get a win and then you feel more confident and then you try it again.
Yes, yes. I love that. And I also want to also bring attention to the feedback loop because you can't build your confidence without feedback. So you could actually have a false sense of self and go deliver something and then you think you did great, but without a feedback loop, half of that audience could disagree with you and say we really missed this one thing we were hoping for from her. Or, I've gotten someone, did research on me before having a conversation and they're like, oh, I was really hoping you were going to talk about this. I'm like, wait, holy shit, how do you know that? And they're like, well, I looked at your Instagram or something. And I was like, whoa, like you have no idea who's in your audience and what kind of preparation they've done to be with you. And so as a speaker, I think it's really important to gain that feedback because you are just, you're judging yourself on the metrics of, did I deliver? I was on the stage. Like, did I remember all of my points? Right? It's very inner self. It's, did I stumble on my words or did I deliver with the kind of poise and confidence that I wanted to? But for them, they don't really care who you are and how put together you are necessarily. They care about the meat, the activation, the shift, the mindset, juiciness that gets in there that's raw, that makes them think, right? It could be anyone up there delivering, but it's what you're doing for them. And so that's why it's so important. And I want to talk about feedback because this is a new course that you have, and I want you to be able to share it. Can you tell us this new course that
Sure.
you're really excited about?
Yeah, I certainly can. So I have a giving and receiving feedback course. It's a mini course. So
I
it's
love that.
Yeah. And, feedback, I mentioned it earlier, even when we were talking, right? It's one of those difficult conversations that people have. And it doesn't have to be,
Yeah.
because feedback, when you're giving someone constructive feedback, if you're doing it in the right way, and I have a whole way, you're giving it because you want someone to grow and you
Yes.
want to nurture someone. You want them to be better. And it's not about they're a bad person. It's
Mhm.
about this one thing. You're amazing. And this one thing needs to improve. And let's talk about improvement.
Yeah.
Now, I really, really, really want to highlight that my giving and receiving feedback course is not the feedback sandwich. I do not believe in the feedback sandwich. I think it's a sandwich full of baloney. Dad joke. Dad joke.
Nothing but a bullshit sandwich, right? On a
Yeah.
Thursday
Yeah. I
afternoon.
mean, think about like when you've ever had to give feedback and you've used that feedback sandwich. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's the idea of praise, feedback, praise, criticism, praise, right? So when I've had to give feedback, I'm not talking about the praise right now. Feedback is meant for praise or growth. So wherever you're going to give it and be direct about that. But when you start
Amen.
to
I was going to
water it
say,
down,
I saw your stance on this and I absolutely agreed. I hate the sandwiching, bad news, conflict resolution, feedback, all the things. I hate this sandwiching because here's why. I'm all against performance. I'm all about honest presence, right? And so when you
mhm,
think about the positive with the negative with the positive, there is a positive that's fake. I feel like it's so performative when you do the sandwich, because if you're there and you have a job to lead someone and help them grow, and your feedback is almost always going to be perceived as negative because it's something that wasn't good that you should work on. And there should always be that, because it is something that you should be working on because it's to grow you. And not everything can be wonderful, because if so, then your end of your life, you've done everything perfectly and there's nothing left to work on. So what's the point? So that's the whole thing. When I saw that, I was like, yes, because it eliminates the performative bullshit that we have to deal with and the niceties of working together. It's everybody gets a medal just for showing up. No, that's not how it works. And I'm not going to sit here and try to think of what's a nice, layer here that
it's
it feels
disingenuous.
performative. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just feels fake. And so when you are getting that feedback sandwich, which I've received very many times, where that first positive, I'm like, oh, fuck you, shut up. That's so fake. Like immediately I go into my vulgar sailor cussing, like just I'm off
Defensive.
put. Yeah.
And
And like, whatever,
it's
that sounds so stupid, right? That sounds so fake. And then it shuts me down
right.
for hearing the thing in the middle, because it's like they're performing and it sets you up and you know what's coming. So then when they actually deliver the real raw feedback that you view as negative, you've already been like, ugh, whatever, I'm done with you, because the first positive that they had to give in their feedback sandwich felt fake. It felt performer,
That's right.
right? And
That's
so
right.
I feel like I love your approach, because I think your course is going to be invaluable for so many leaders with team management to have direct, clear communication and view feedback as a tool of growth instead
Yeah.
of a negative conflict resolution conversation that we have to go into and have.
Well, conflict and feedback are different.
Yeah, sometimes, but there are leaders that
Conflict.
use it for
Well, that's
both.
what I'm saying. And
Yes.
that's why I want to draw that distinction. So
Yes.
feedback is about growth and improvement and development and support. Conflict is when there's a disagreement between two people.
Right.
And that I have a one-to-one strategy and a training that I run. Actually, I just did it.
You do.
Yeah.
It's so,
Yeah.
you have a feedback and training for everything. But what I was going to piggyback on was I love your feedback loop, because a lot of managers and leaders will use a meeting to give feedback or constructive criticism as a conflict conversation, because they'll
Yes.
mold it around some issue they're having with someone that disagrees, so that the recipient
Wrong.
views the feedback as a conversation that they disagree on. And here's the thing, feedback is not something you can agree or disagree on as I'm going to debate you on this because I don't agree. It's someone's opinion. That's gaslighting. It's someone's opinion. You can't gaslight them and say, well, you really don't feel that way. Maybe you feel this way about my presentation. It's like, no, The feedback was the feedback. The conflict
Yeah.
could be something different, but there shouldn't be conflict in feedback. But I think a lot of people view feedback as conflict.
So I want to make a distinction, be very clear on a distinction here from what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
You can disagree with feedback that you get.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You can. And there are many people, and especially people like us in a business and as an entrepreneur, who will tell you what to do or how you're doing something wrong. And you disagree with that. That is feedback that you disagree with. It does not have to turn into conflict. And the way
Right.
that I think about it is, if somebody depends on me in some way and I disagree with them, that matters and it's worth a conversation. So a person on my team, my boss, my
Mm-hmm.
children,
Mm-hmm.
my friends,
Mm-hmm.
that matters to me. When someone gives me feedback that I disagree with and they're not, as Brene Brown would say, in my arena, they've got nothing going on here and they don't know what they're talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yep.
Goodbye.
It doesn't matter. So another time I accept feedback that I disagree with is when it's someone who knows more than me and is really seasoned in something and they say something and I'm like, I disagree. I want to understand why I disagree. I want to understand their opinion
Ooh, I
more.
love that. That's
I
good.
want to know why I disagree. And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
My disagreement is wrong. But
Mm-hmm.
there, you have to be able to discern when you disagree with I do think you can disagree with feedback. And when
Mm-hmm.
you disagree with feedback with somebody's impression of you, and that's what I talk about receiving feedback rests in self-awareness. And self-awareness
Mm.
has two components. One is, I call it the mirror and the portrait, right? So the mirror is like typical traditional self-awareness. Like, I know what my goals are, my aspirations. I know what I like. I know where I fit in. I know what my desires and my values are, right? That's self-awareness from the mirror perspective. But the
Yes.
portrait, and this is the part of self-awareness that people don't understand or recognize as self-awareness, is how other people see you, your
Mm.
impact on other people. That is self-awareness. And that portrait that they paint of you, you may not like it
Mm-hmm.
and you may not agree with it, but it has been painted. It is on the
Mm-hmm.
canvas. And so understanding why someone painted that of you is self-awareness.
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, I
And
love that.
receiving, and that's part of receiving feedbacks. That's part of the mini course
Love that
on giving and receiving
clarification.
feedback.
So, in addition to this feedback mini course, what are all of the courses that you are currently pitching right now? What do you really want people to be aware of with your line of work? Because I think you have a fabulous history and a lot of credentials around the trainings that you do. So, tell us more.
Well, I think the best way to see kind of comprehensively everything that I have is to go on my website, workwiselabs.com. But I also do every month I do two workshops. One is a 15-minute workshop called Just a Touch. And it's usually around the first or second week of the month. And it's
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes. And it's just a touch of a longer workshop that I do the following week. And that's 1 hour. I do these monthly virtual workshops, and every month is a different topic. The Just a Touch and the monthly are the same topic. And so you can come for free to the Just a Touch, see if you like it, what you think. And then you can come. And then the monthly right now is only $29. So it's
Love that.
easy access. It's 12 noon Eastern time. So it hits all the time zones in the States. And
There you go.
I have people that come from across the country, and yeah, and it's only $29. So it's
I
super
love that.
accessible. Yeah, this month we did conflict resolution, for example, and I don't know when people are listening to this, but next month we're doing creating high performing teams. And last month we did, gosh, what did we do last month? I mean, everything, it jumbles into each other. Last
Yeah.
month we did effective communication.
Love that. Okay. This is a great way to work with you and get a flavor of what you even do. This
Yes.
is a great way to even experience what your facilitation could feel like when you attend a workshop and how you actually go through the systems. My question is, and I think this is a really good final question for this really awesome conversation today, is for the keynote that totally flopped. Will
Yeah,
you
we're
go
going to go
back?
back to that.
Will you go back and try again? Or are you saying that that was feedback that says you are a facilitator and not wanting to do the keynote
No,
thing again?
I get asked to do keynotes. I have to say yes. I'm in business. My business is making money. I have to do these keynotes. So I actually just joined a Toastmasters.
Okay.
That is my
Awesome.
beginning.
Yes.
That's where I'm starting. And I want to put together a keynote. I want one keynote. That is my goal. I want one keynote that if somebody says, "Oh, can you give a keynote?" Yes, I can. And it is on this.
Oh, I love
Like,
that. Alyssa, I love that. You said it and so it must be true because it's going to be on air. You want
yeah,
one keynote and you can have one keynote and it can be amazing and then you can keep building and developing that one keynote and I think that that's smart, especially if you're getting asked to do it.
yes,
I'm glad. I'm glad that you're going to go try again. And I think that suffering, like you said, is a part of the confidence track. And every time you feel that you didn't perform the way you should from your own feedback as well as outside feedback, it's a confidence builder, one little step in the thermometer at a time.
look at you
This
using my visuals.
conversation, yeah, I love it. Well, because I was on the PTA, right? So of my kids' elementary school. So I just remembered every fundraiser, we had
Yep,
that silly thermometer in the hallway and
yep.
you kept seeing your progress, but the visual is really, really impactful. So I see that. I see every single little notch in your career is a confidence booster. And I love that. So Elissa, thank you so much for all of these amazing truth bombs today. I think that you've really delivered some great stuff. I've wanted to talk with someone on pricing and the struggle of pricing and the early days of even valuing yourself and what you offer. I think the struggle is real. I think if you guys want to have a deeper conversation with Elissa and all of the things that she helps you with in facilitation and her courses, I'm definitely interested. I'm super excited. So Elissa, help plug all of your spaces, maybe your website again, and then your channels of where people can find you if they want to get in touch.
Thanks. The best way to find me is on my website, which is www.workwiselabs.com. And I'm also on Instagram at Workwise Labs. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Workwise Labs. So you can find me there.
That is cohesive branding. Everything is Workwise Labs. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you for
Yes.
your time, Elissa, on Only Founders. That does it for us. Thanks for listening. Everybody have a good one.
Thanks for having me.